My dear Luise, when you receive this letter, I will already have embarked on an ocean liner in Hamburg and will be on my way to Shanghai. Werner, you may ask, what has driven you to give up your prestigious position at the Handelsbank, your house and your future career to go on such a journey? Do you remember my friend, Georg Hohenfeller, the journalist at the Abendblatt? You must have read his column. He's been increasingly critical of the Reichskanzler and all the changes that have come over our country. I've still talked to him on Sunday, and he said he was afraid of the Prussian secret police, said he'd been followed, and someone had broken into his office and gone through his files. But he was defiant, said that his position required him to hold power to account. I've known Georg for years, and he was courageous to a fault. I hadn't heard from him for a few days, and yesterday it was reported in the papers that he was missing. Of course, they said it was likely a case of domestic dispute or similar, that he'd gone away after a fight with his wife. But I talked to Ilse, and she had been crying, but she said they hadn't fought, and that Georg had simply not come home from work. You see, Luise, if they went through Georg's papers, they would have found the letters I've written to him about the Büro für Wehrbeschaffung and how they took bribes for preferential armament contracts. Now I wish I had never put those down to paper. I was so careless. You know me, mind always wandering and ear nowhere near the ground. Things have changed, and everyone is cautious of what they say or who they talk to these days. The boys are all starry-eyed, eager to join the troops and follow the great leader to get their piece of the glory of the empire. And I'm afraid to say it, but I'm in too deep already anyway. The new Kaiser is of most despicable character. I fear for our country, Luise. It's not the Germany I knew and loved. But alas, where to go? War is everywhere, and I won't be seen in Russia or Canada, and the States are now under the totalist jackboot. China, I fear, is the last place I can disappear to, where there might be a shred of liberty left in the world. Goodbye, Luise. I shall not write again, as they may check the mail and then come knocking on your door too. Maybe we'll meet again one day, fate willing. Once you've read this letter, burn it, and be safe. Don't associate with any rebellious folk. Stay with your mother, keep quiet, and wave the flag. Yours forever, Werner. It's easy to forget that in the exuberance of all the military victories, people just get disappeared in Germany, and that the empire is a very, very different empire than what people were used to and how it started out. And that everyone is being a little bit careful of what they say, lest the secret police and their thug squads are coming after them. However, such is the price von Schleicher is willing to pay, and we are just cleaning up after the surrender of the British. There's no further threat in the Navy, so we will have to reposition our naval forces. And the question will be, how do we position them effectively against either the Japanese or the Americans? Now, we could double down on the Imperial Japanese Navy or on the American Navy. And given the humiliating defeat Costa Rica has taken before Germany was able to intervene, I think starting to move the divisions over to Cuba and projecting our force into the Gulf of Mexico is going to be a good next step. However, we are in need of repairs and potentially some refits. So let's take everybody off strike force for now and just make sure that everything gets repaired as is on both forces. The second Schlachtgeschwader is still very much short on escort ships. But the Aufklärungsgruppe also does no longer need to patrol. We had spotted a few enemy ships in the North Sea, so you never know. We'll leave them on, but for everything else, the submarines are going to take care of it. And obviously, the Ostafrika-Geschwader is still very busy, and also does need some repairs. So I think I'm going to get these ships in for repair as well. Just to make sure that everything is up and in working condition. The Luftwaffe has or is in the business of redeploying eastwards towards the Ostfront and to start making sure that things are clear. There's not much anymore of a Russian resistance, to be honest. So I think we can go on the offensive here relatively soon. We'll probably begin that by once the heavy fighters arrive and get ready for escorts, by starting some bombing campaigns. In other developments, von Falkenhorst's 8th Army has to be or is being moved to Scapa Flow, and from there on, once the Marines have dealt with these last pockets of resistance here, we will launch an assault into Iceland, just because Iceland is a syndicalist state, and as such, even though minor, still a threat to our shipping lanes potentially, especially if they decide to cooperate with, say, the Americans in some manner. Common enemy and all such might let them forget their ideology. So Iceland should be secured, and then we have complete control over the Northern Atlantic, and we can move into the Middle American area of operations. Ethiopia still seems to be struggling, so this is one of those hotbeds that you never know. We might. Can we join? No, we can't. We can't join the war, and we can't obviously guarantee their independence anymore. This is they are trying to annex Somalia, so this is really from their direction. We can send some material support for now. I'm pretty sure we've got a lot of captured equipment. So what they're probably going to need is mostly rifles. So let's send them some old rifles, and I'm just going to send them once. There we go. Rifles, artillery. They probably have some in need here. And we'll send older stuff that we're no longer producing. Do we have old tanks? No, they probably can't use tanks very much, but they might be able to use some planes. So we've got some Bf-109s still laying around, so they can send those as well, and potentially some older bombers. We could send the Heinkels here. Yeah, let's do that. So reinforce Ethiopia a bit and see if they can sort this out. Anyway, the action for now, pending any further escalation with the Entente, is going to be in Korea, which will also then free up the Air Force again, because right now we've got 4 tactical bomber wings over Korea. There are some enemy fighters in the air, however. So how's the loss? We've lost 1 bomber so far, which is not huge. So relatively, and we've shot down one enemy fighter. So the Japanese fighters are not the most effective over Korea, which means we are going to get the troops there reorganized. Seoul needs to be connected. And then we will probably push east, cut off the northeastern flank of the Japanese army, destroy the remaining troops. So let's already take the assault divisions and align them, give them a separate line. So they need to be deployed in Seoul, and with an objective to take Busan. So first push is east, destroy the flank, and then move further south. So that's that. I have in the Asian theater, I have deployed some of Paulus's troops towards Hawaii, and that's just to secure against a potential American invasion. But so far we have not seen an awful lot from the Americans, so I'm not sure how much they are still reeling from their civil war. Anyway, so the Grozny front is going to be stable for now, and we will be preparing the beginning of the operations in the east. going to take a week to get the railways fixed up and to get Seoul connected here. So we will be probably a little bit low on supply until then. But troops are reshuffling right now. And we will be... once the assault divisions have their organization back, then we will be getting... and I'm not sure why these troops are moving off. So these divisions obviously need to be on the correct front line. We do not wish to abandon it. And I think that's all of them. Everyone else is moving. Yeah, everyone else is moving into position. All right. So assault divisions are gathering in Seoul for a push towards the east. Japanese are shuffling around. And the Central American Confederation has once again declared war on Costa Rica. They are testing us, aren't they? Just as England has fallen, Costa Rica has fallen to the syndicalists, and the Central American Confederation, which has once again decided that they are still not happy with the government in Costa Rica, and they're going to overthrow them again. So apparently they had taken out the government when they were still in the Reichspakt, and then the syndicalist counter-revolution turned the country deep red, and now they are once again getting involved. Well, we are not going to defend the syndicalist government in Costa Rica, so let them do what they feel they need to do. However, we are going to need more marine divisions, I feel. Let's see how many more we can actually train up. We still a little bit under the overall division cap, so we can still train up 4 more. So after some delays, it comes down to the Treaty of Paris and the occupation of France, and we will be for now controlling France, specifically the border regions, and we'll see how many demands we can make before we are running out. Eventually, the future of France will be decided, but today is not that day. Today is the day when we continue with the military occupation and ensure the security of the German Empire. There's a rump commune of France resurgent in Aquitaine. The French now have a foothold in the mainland, which somewhat complicates our front lines in the south here, but it is what it is, and we will once war with the Entente returns, which is going to happen. And I am surprised that the rump commune of France, at the insistence of Spain, had to exist. So that's basically where we are herding that's where we're bringing all the communists and the syndicalists. They will be given an area around Bordeaux. And this will help with the resistance quite a bit as well. And the French had to demand a foothold on the mainland, and we were giving it to them. And this is not going to go well for them if they are ever planning to extend this area. So more compromise than we would have wished for, but at the end of the day, one has to be diplomatic and try to retain a semblance of statesmanship in the German Empire and not just an all-out land grab. But for now, military occupation of France is what we are looking at, except for 2 relatively small areas in the south, closer to Spain than to us. The most secure part, the most important part, is that the lands directly bordering Germany have been secured and are under our control. General von Kleist's troops will be redeployed from the Italian border to ensure that the syndicalists are staying within their assigned areas, and hopefully this will help with the overall resistance, which does look manageable at this point. But we do have to keep a very close eye on the British as well. Where do we have our... Yeah, that looks... I think that's a reasonable deployment of operatives at this stage. And we are, which means at some point when the resistance is mostly squashed, we can start deploying them further east or into the Americas. But for now, let's get back to the Korean situation. where we are still relatively low on supply. One of the bigger problems is going to be that the crossing of the river here against the Japanese position. So I think what we'll do is we'll just move east from, and I think we don't need all divisions for that. We'll take the three most rested divisions, move east, and close the lines near Wonsan in the north, and then roll this whole thing over from there. So we don't have to enact a river crossing south of Korea. I think the Chinese are actually busy with this as well, and I am not sure where my friendly troop counters are. There they are. Okay. Why am I not seeing what's going on in the combat here? Okay. Weird things happen again. No, not to worry about. Naval battle results is something I'm going to have to very quickly look at to see if there are enemy forces in the area. No, it's just American submarines. And the other one was here. And that is an Indian cruiser operating in the area. Okay, it's good to know. But regardless, let's keep moving. Okay, the Chinese are, for some reason, the game has been more and more buggy with the progression of the campaign. The mod has been causing a couple of problems here, but okay, we're starting to see the Chinese divisions again. We are moving into. We are about to encircle 5 Japanese divisions near Wonsan, but meanwhile in Germany. Today, Duke Ernst of Saxe-Meiningen passed away at the age of 82, famous as the Meyer Herzog, or the Duke who never wanted to be Duke. Ernst, who only ascended to the throne at age 68, was widely known for his keen enthusiasm for the fine arts and his disinterestment in politics, something that stood in stark contrast to the ruling style of his older brother and predecessor Bernhard III, a bellicose admirer of the Prussian way of life. The Prussian way of life being extremely strict and disciplined, and very much steeped in tradition. While the legacy of only 14 years of rule might seem small compared to his father and grandfather, who both ruled Saxe-Meiningen for around half a century, Ernst definitely will not be forgotten, as many of the Duke's beautiful self-painted pictures are already displayed as part of a permanent exhibition in the Lindenau Art Museum in Meiningen. And I am not entirely certain. He wasn't an Austrian painter. I'm not entirely certain why we're getting one stability for his death, but maybe because he was not particularly savvy. Costa Rica has once again capitulated. Let's see in these wild days of politics who they have installed now. Okay, so right now the Central American Confederation is just keeping control of Costa Rica. We will eventually take them out and liberate Costa Rica, but under the correct kind of government. In the meantime, and we need to make sure these Japanese troops from Wonsan are not reinforcing. In the meantime, we are about to spring the trap, close the encirclement. We've got the 919th Infantry Division making on an assault here, making sure that the Japanese are not breaking out. Okay, we can stop the assault at this point, and we are now destroying the encircled divisions in the north without Japan being able to do anything about it. And I think China has already managed to cross. Yeah, China has already broken the lines and has crossed into the south. We'll just destroy the rest of the Japanese troops in Korea, but I think at this point China has got it, and we can probably move Paulus's units off. Military oversight of state governments has been completed. And that is yet another stepping stone. The army must have a greater say in political affairs. Policy of Heer liaisons, Heer is the German army, in all member states of the German Empire. Liaisons will cooperate with state governments to represent our interests and nudge those governments towards a more cooperative direction. So we've got political officers at this point, or political commissars at this stage. That opens up the path to the bureaucrat oaths of loyalty. But before we complete the militarization of the German state, I think there is a strategic point that we can take a look at. So right now, if we wanted to invade India, and it is one of the last holdouts from the Third International, Burma is sort of in the way. Now we could ask for military access, but the Burma has no reason to give us. They are carefully neutral as a social democratic state, but we can start carefully open up diplomatic advances towards them. So we can get ourselves a bit more experience gain and form additional East Asian regiments. And then after that's completed, we can see if we can convince Burma to join, because if you're not with us, you're against us eventually. And that opens up a potential second flank towards India along the coast and near Calcutta. And we can eventually aid the Iranian advances into India, because this area is not one where we can actually fight in. We do have free civilian factories. We are building a couple more military factories here. But I think other than that, we have pretty much. We can build a few more. So let's do that. Can we get a couple more dockyards? Yes, we can. So that is in occupied Denmark for all things as well. So let's build more dockyards along the coast to reinforce, because we have now a much larger empire to control, to reinforce the rebuilding of the German fleet. Resistance is mostly pronounced in northern France at this point, and so far the commune has been quiet. We'll see how long that lasts, and we're basically this is a large prison camp near Bordeaux where all the syndicalists are concentrated. All right, Korea operations, I think at this point are all but complete, and we should actually be able to let's just wipe out the last remaining Japanese divisions here. They are encircled, they are under air attack, they have nowhere to go. China is breaking out everywhere. And I think with that we can leave. We can probably leave. There we go. Oh, there was one left that was hiding in the bushes. With that destruction of another 55,000 Japanese troops near Wonsan, I think we can leave the rest of the Korean peninsula to the Chinese, and we can start moving Paulus's troops towards a potential confrontation with India, at least the ones that are deployed in the Korean region. So I think these 11 divisions are no longer needed here, and we will bring them over to the border of Burma for now. Probably not up in the mountains, however, as there's probably no supply there, but along the coastline, and I think we have there we go. Okay, so they can move out. The Chinese can take care of the rest, and we can now focus on the Ostfront. Just a short time after the initial military occupation division of France, politicians are increasingly calling for an official solution to the French occupation. Having gained control of new swath of land, we must now work out what to do with it. Occupation can be expensive and destabilizing, but it would give us direct access to the riches of this new land. On the other hand, creating a puppet nation would certainly be cheaper, though our new subjects may not be as reliable as we might think. Either way, and the fate of nations rests in our hands. So we do have a bit of time until we are forced to make a decision here. This is less about land and resources, and more about actual security for the empire. Germany is not planning to just take control, take permanent ownership of these lands. Certain areas, yes, that have always been claimed by Germany, but we do not wish for a permanent occupation of France. So we'll let this pan out a little bit. We'll see how the situation develops, and then the decision will be made of what to do with the French. Meanwhile, in the Eastern Front, we have strategic bomber wings ready for assaults on potentially central Russia, although they don't quite have the range to get there. So we'll probably concentrate on the Western Russian air zone for now, and begin the strategic destruction of whatever we can find. We have 6 heavy fighter wings that can fly escort missions, so let's redirect them there. All in all, the Russian Air Force has been beaten. They have taken horrific losses over the past months, and are all but a shadow of their former self. We have complete control over the air, so we can begin operations on the ground, which leads us to getting Guderian his tanks back. So these panzer divisions no longer need to be can be reassigned to Guderian. We do have marine divisions on point and ready for a break south. And we have the tank divisions. Deployed in the north. However, this is von Kluge's second army. So I am thinking of concentrating Guderian's tanks in the south. So these tank divisions here that are currently just holding the lines, we are going to get all of Guderian's panzer divisions, probably as well as his. No, we might just be able to do with the marines and the tanks for now. We'll get his panzer divisions ready in the same area as the marines for an assault south here. However, we do need the other marines to launch a simultaneous attack on Crimea. At least that was the plan. But given that the other marines are still busy dealing with the British situation here. And we are sinking. What are we fighting here now? Indian submarines in near Ireland. These marine divisions are still planning an invasion to make sure to deal with any kind of British resistance in the area. We might actually just go ahead and launch the attack. So we'll begin, while Guderian is still collecting his forces, we'll begin pushing towards the supply point in Smolensk. That is the first strategic target. As such, we are going to need ground support. So the tactical bombers will be running close air support, and the whatever range the close air support wings have, they can do that. They can do that as well. Strategic bombers are heavy fighters are clearing the air, and the rest of the fighters is keeping any kind of Russian opposition at bay, mostly over Ukraine. And we do still have the fighter wings in. There are more tactical bomber wings. We'll bring them over. They can join the offensive when they are. They can join the offensive near Vitebsk when they are in the region. So we'll bring them over, and they will also be on the Western Russian air zone. But I think it is time to show the Russians how modern war is conducted. So we are going to launch. And do we have a railway gun in the area? I think we might need to bring one a little closer. It's still moving into position. Okay, we're waiting for the Kaiser Wilhelm battery to be in position at the front line, and then once that's there, then we can begin the assault. The Russians had ample time to dig in, so we will see how they fare against a massive armored attack. We've got 4 tank divisions moving straight onto Smolensk, and the 2 northern divisions are clearing the road towards Vitebsk. And the Russians are relatively well dug in, but I think given that they can't actually penetrate the tanks and that we have aerial superiority, we should be able to breach their defenses here without too much trouble. We will give some infantry support if needed, but we do have the we do have the advantage here, and I don't think the Russians can stand against the tanks for long. They have concentrated a fair amount of infantry, but it is unsupported open ground, so I don't think they will be able to do much. They are, however, moving some troops in the north, but they're not reinforcing for now. They're still on the belief that the flanks can hold, and we are going to have to move the railway battery in closer for more siege assault. But all in all, the tank battles on the frozen plains, it is still January, so we're still limited in our operations, are going on without too much trouble. The southern front has moved forward, so we'll leave one tank division to deal with the inevitable counterattack, and we've got the motorized divisions to come join in. The rest of the tanks is pressing on towards Smolensk, and the 4th Panzer is now able to, under fierce bombardment, as you can see, the 4th Panzer is now able to support the northern assault from the flanks, which is going to collapse the Vitebsk front, whereas the rest of the panzers is already moving forward towards Smolensk. And counterattacks from the Russians from the south will be sending infantry to join up soon. And we have still 2 panzer divisions pushing on towards Smolensk. And Vitebsk is about to fall. Will support again the assault from the south. Fierce Russian resistance in the north. They have sent many divisions here to reinforce Vitebsk, but with the assistance of some regular infantry and potentially additional tank divisions, clearing out the eastern part and widening the front around Vitebsk, that should not be a huge problem. Smolensk is about to fall, and then once that battle is won, we're going to consolidate gains. Vitebsk is turned into a sea of fire under consistent aerial bombardment and ground attacks by the tanks on the frozen ground. Tanks not the most effective in urban fighting, so infantry is definitely needed to support the attacks here. And Smolensk has fallen, and the northern flank has been widened, which means Vitebsk is now being attacked from 3 directions, and I think with that the Russian troops are being pushed back. Vitebsk is about to fall. There we go, and now it's just a matter of expanding the lines north, securing the river flank, and then getting the supporting troops in to ensure that we are holding the spearhead. But the first northern operation has been a major success, and like I said, now it's just a matter of consolidating the gains and making sure that we get the supply situation sorted. We do have to get the railways connected, and then we have Vitebsk and Smolensk as strategic springboards for a wider offensive. Next up will be Guderian once his tanks are in place, and these tanks are in place. Do we have ground support over Ukraine? Yeah, we do have some friendly ground support over Ukraine. So still hotly contested, but I think we will see if the Marines can manage a river crossing. This is going to be a probing attack south of Sabrite, and see if they can push through towards the coastline and manage to cut off to get the tanks to follow to cut off the area. Before that, however, we have a couple of other things to do. We have again 3 factories. We can we still build a couple more military factories on German territory? We can. And we might. How many civilian factories do we have? 177 plus trade. Let's just throw in 2 more. But I think all in all, we are all in on military construction at this point, and we are going to potentially get some more once the I'm hesitant to build up in France because we don't know yet what the future of France will be. So it's still 100 days until the political pressure becomes too great that we need to do something about it. However, we can press our claims on St. Helena. That is something we should be doing. So St. Helena in the South Atlantic should no longer remain a British base. And how far are the Marines with their potential? The Marines are ready for their assault. So there are Irish divisions here on the ground as well. We'll just have to make sure that we have somebody who is guarding them. So let's just put one of the battle groups on strike force, and then we will launch the invasion. Okay, Marines are moving, and we should be occupying the last British holdout, and to ensure that they are no longer that there's no longer any resistance. Okay, troops are about to land. The Irish are moving in as well. Okay, there we go. All right, Marines have landed. Area is occupied. That leaves the Orkney and Shetland Islands, and potentially, do we need to deal with it? We may have to. I don't think there are any British. There were no British left. There were no British left here. So I think it was just a matter of gaining control. So let's plan the next naval invasion from Scapa Flow to Reykjavik. And we will just land all 4 because this is very mountainous terrain. We'll just land all 4 divisions in Reykjavik directly. They should be able to take the port, and then we will funnel in the mountaineers to clear up the rest of the area. So that's the next. That is the next action. That is going to take another 20 days to plan that. I really do need to research. Really do need to research the naval invasion texts, because we are a bit behind on those. This one's. So that also reduces the the preparation time quite significantly. That needs to be done given how many naval invasions we are doing. We have 3 factories at this point, so let's take a quick look where we can put additional factories. I think how many do we have? 5 more. Let's put that up to 15 just for now. And we do need to trade for a bit more rubber, because we are running a little short. So let's get one more shipment from German East Asia. And I am just waiting for 26 days for the amphibious drive to start building tanks, and that can support the Marines. All right, how is China doing in the east? Let's just get rid of all these front lines, because we are no longer fighting Japan here. We'll leave them to it. I think the Japanese army has been defeated sufficiently that China can take care of affairs there of themselves. And let's get back to the Russian front, where fighting a winter war in Russia is generally not recommended. Fierce counterattacks here. Against the divisions northeast of Vitebsk. We may have to bring some reinforcements in, and hope that the which divisions are involved here. Okay, I think the 5th Panzer has come to the relief of the 2nd Panzer Division, and we are okay. Now we've got enough troops here. We can let everyone else figure out the front lines at this point, and wait for the railway connections to be active, such that I think Smolensk is actually active, but we are very much dependent on thin railway lines. So I think one of the tasks here is going to be the railway line from Minsk to Smolensk is very underdimensioned. So we will immediately bring combat engineers up to start building. To start improving the railway connection towards Smolensk, and that hopefully improves the overall supply situation in the area. We will get Vitebsk under control here soon as well, but for now we'll hold out. It is winter in Russia, and we'll focus on the southern flank, where we are That is just a vain Polish attempt here. But where we are going to see how the Marines are going to fare against the Russians. There is one, the 17th Infantry Division is moving off, but there are still 5 in the area. So let's launch the assault with some gunfire support from the tanks. And we will see if the Marines can break the Russian infantry crossing the river, frozen river not completely, but nearly frozen river at night, and see if they can get their barges across and make landfall on the other side. The Russians are putting up some fierce resistance. However, the Marines are bringing in flame tanks as well. If they can get these across the bridges and fall into the Russians' rear, that would be important. Meanwhile, we are now going to make a diplomatic overture towards Burma, and we will see if we can open up the front lines towards India a bit more here. The battle is still raging. We'll just keep a very close eye on any reinforcements. So far, it seems like the Russians are confident that they can hold this, and we can bring a bit more air force in. Very small amount of enemy planes operating over Belarus. But the close air support wings, not the close air support wings, the tactical bomber wings should have, no, they don't have the range, but we can bring them south and get them over the Ukrainian zone to assist with to give assistance from the air to the Marines, who are taking losses trying to push across. Okay, the Russians are reinforcing from the east, so we'll immediately send in divisions to ensure that doesn't happen. That's a good use for the for the Fremdenlegion, and just have to make sure that we are not breaking the defenses in the area. And that leaves 3 Russian divisions, make that 2 Russian divisions, and I think the Marines are going to be across the lines relatively soon. The attack on Zaporizhia has been exhausted, but we've got some more Lithuanian divisions that we can throw into the fray to ensure that Marines can break through. And immediately fighting has broken out between the French and the commune region that has been separated. So I think deciding the fate of France is going to be before the Entente is spreading on the French homeland. This is a political decision that we will be taking now in order to forestall any further movements on the ground. All right, the fate of France shall be decided. What are we going to do? Paris has been captured and the French have been defeated. Well, it's complicated. We have ripped out the heart of the revolution. It's now in Bordeaux. And now we must decide what to do with occupied France. So we've got the option to liberate France under a puppet government. And what is the effect of that? France becomes a puppet government of the German Empire. The German military administration in France, and Fedor von Bock becomes the leader of the French party, and this basically becomes a part of the Reichspakt, similar to German East Asia, and the French Militärregierung will be the ruling party. We can discuss the fate of France with the French Republic in Lyon, or we can just maintain the occupation, which is going to be very costly in terms of stability and war support and political power. So I think creating a military occupied France, similar to the same project that we've done in Middle Africa and in German East Asia, is going to be the best option at this point. So France will be liberated, because this is eventually the end goal of the German Empire, not to occupy all of Europe, but to liberate the people from the jackboot of syndicalism and Russian imperialism. So we shall liberate France, but under military government, and Fedor von Bock becomes the governing general, and as such is a trusted advisor, and we can believe that he will lead the French to a good future. So that's what we'll do. And there we have it. Now, this has, of course, brought some disarray into things, because we are still occupying parts of France in Brest. We still have the Atlantic ports. We still are controlling parts of northern France, and of course the French Empire is still operating in the south here. So I think this is an interesting military situation at this point. How are we? We could just take over. We could take over the rest of the French Commune, but for now, I think we'll leave it to it. We'll see what the French Empire is going to be doing. But we have France. We have France as a military occupation, and if that turns out to be working well, we can eventually turn over territory near Brest and in the north to the French military government. We will see how that all ends up. But there are sections of the area that are now under direct German control, also in the south here near Geneva. So all quite interesting politically in the future, but we will see how that all cleans up eventually. For now, that's one thing. Fate of France has been decided. We've got another ace pilot, and we have free dockyards. So we can probably... why are we not having any military factories on the LVS? Oh, that's because these were the occupied French ones that we were using. All right. In that case, new military factories will be flowing in relatively soon. We probably don't need 40 on the Sonderkraftfahrzeug, so we'll leave that at 35. New factories will come in soon. Once again, we are short on material now because we're short on aluminium, which is harder and harder to come by. So we shall trade more with the Dutch. Okay, yeah, we are strengthening our southern neighbors who we are having a relatively uneasy peace with. But aluminium is generally difficult to come by these days. Free dockyards, however. So free dockyards means we've got 3 dockyards. What are we going to put into construction? We are already building 2 of the Mars class light cruisers. And how are we in general on the Navy? I think we're still very much short on escort ships. This is starting to look better. We've got I think we've got a good number of, we've got 34 destroyers. So we have 4 carriers. Sorry, that's the total. So we've got 4 carriers, 11 battleships of 15 and 3. That's 18. Yeah, we're still a bit short. We need about 70 to 80 light ships all in all. So I think building more destroyers is probably not a bad thing. So let's just get another line going with the Zerstörers. There we go. Zerstörer 1941. All right, so that's ongoing. Last thing we're going to take a look at is the invasion here. So now that the Marines have broken through, Guderian's panzers can close the gap. The Marines immediately have to defend against a vicious counterattack from Zaporizhzhia. We can stop the northern blocking assault, but Marines are to hold the territory here for now, and let the tanks do the talking. So we'll bring the tanks through. Guderian's panzer divisions are moving in and are again immediately also getting counterattacked from the Zaporizhzhia front in the north, but panzers are piling in, so we should be able to close the gap here relatively soon. And what happened in France? The French exiles intervene in the Weltkrieg. After 2 decades of plotting their homecoming, the French exiles in Algeria have decided to seize the initiative, take advantage of the ongoing Weltkrieg, and declare war against the member countries of the Third International. They are a bit late to the party, to be honest. With the Revolutionary Alliance busy fighting Germany, the forces of the Entente believe they now have a chance to return home and crush the revolutionaries that ousted them once and for all. Despite the Entente's rhetoric, whether or not the old imperial powers will be able to even land on their mainlands, well, they have, but in political manners, is an open question and depends in large part on the Germans' generosity. No, they are not useful to us, and we are going to be very much careful about this. I do have to restructure the front lines here a bit, just to make sure that everybody is doing the right thing. But it looks, the political map looks pretty bad at this point. We will clean this up through political means as we go. But for now, France, not the air part of it, the political part of it, France is part of the Reichspakt under Fedor von Bock. So I think once that is all well under control and the resistance obviously has been squashed, we can potentially start handing back some territory to France and make France the sole purveyor of this landmass. And the answer is probably not. So this might be a Kaiserreich mechanic. I might have to work my way around this because this is a mess. So we will see. France is fractured at this point. We will see how things evolve. We might just go for retaking Aquitaine eventually if the syndicalists become uppity there, and we will see how we might eventually just kick the Entente back out of France if they decide not to play ball. But unfortunately, I can't diplomatically return the northern parts to France. But right now, Germany is in control of these areas. So I know nobody likes border gore, but I'll do my best to sort it out, and we will be fighting in the east, liberating Ukraine from Russian occupation. So let's complete that step as the last one today, and just see if we can manage to get the tanks moving south against the vicious counterattacks coming from the whole Russian front in the north. We are a bit short of supply in the region, and I think there is not an awful lot outside. Is Zaporizhzhia itself a supply point? I think it is not. It's hard to tell. I don't think it is from the looks of it. So there is the next supply point would be in the south here. So we might have to relocate the Marines we'll just remove their line here. They were sent on a defensive mission, so we'll relocate the Marines. We'll relocate the Marines here and see if they can make a push towards securing the supply base. And meanwhile, the tanks are cleaning up the east, but they are running a little low on supply at this stage. So we will have to see how well this works. But I think one Panzer division is making its way south without too much trouble, and everybody else is basically involved in the defense at this point. Let's see if we can hold off the Russians. Yep, the Panzers have moved south. And we are now going to be able to roll up the Russian positions north of Crimea. Marines are going to go in and join the attack from the north across the river. With the Panzers rolling in from the east, we might be able to cut off a fair amount of Russian troops. We've got potentially entrapped about 20 odd divisions. So that would be a first major victory against Russia. But all of that coming in the next episode. That's it for me today. Thanks, everybody, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.